Duel Links has been going as a game for years now, constantly shifting its metagame in unique ways compared to the TCG. Archetypes that had absolutely no impact in the TCG have had game-warping impact in Duel Links, and vice versa, so it's not always safe to go off the success of an archetype in one game to judge another. In this series, we'll be looking over an archetype's support in Duel Links, what released when, how it impacted the meta of the time, and how it compares to the same archetype in the TCG. This is Link Legacy. When it comes to what archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are the most famous from an outsider's perspective, a few will instantly come to mind. Dark Magician and Blue Eyes would usually be the first mentioned, but quickly after would usually be Red Eyes. Red Eyes is an archetype based around the titular monster Red Eyes Black Dragon, the ace monster of Joey Wheeler in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. While in the TCG, Red Eyes took quite a while to get supported as an actual archetype, as the first real support for the monster was received 3 years after its debut. In Duel Links, Red Eyes got support rather quickly and regularly, bouncing in and out of the meta with its support waves, starting with Red Eyes has been in Duel Links since the game launched, as Red Eyes Black Dragon was a part of the original starter decks for both Joey Wheeler and Rex Raptor, referencing where Joey's ace monster came from in the anime. The only other card Red Eyes had at launch though was Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon, an upgraded form that could only be summoned by tributing the original while equipped with Metal Morph. With only these two lackluster cards at launch, the deck needed a lot of support to see play even remotely, but being such an iconic archetype, it didn't take long to trickle in support. With Age of Discovery came Black Dragon's Chick, a level 1 monster that could tribute itself to summon Red Eyes Black Dragon from hand. Similarly, Neo Impact brought Meteor Black Dragon, and Wonders of the Sky brought Black Skull Dragon, fusions of Red Eyes Black Dragon and other normal monsters, once again seeing no play due to the very basic nature of these cards. The first real support wave that did anything for the archetype came over the span of a 3-month period with the Super Joey event and the release of Crimson Kingdom. The Super Joey event was a roaming character event in which you could duel Joey to unlock event-exclusive cards. The first run of this event brought 2 new cards for the archetype in Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact and Red Eyes Spirit. Meteor Dragon was a retrain of the old vanilla monster, which was the other material for making Meteor Black Dragon, a Gemini monster with the effect to protect all other Red Eyes monsters from destruction by battle or card effects. Red Eyes Spirit, on the other hand, was an archetypal revival trap that brought back any Red Eyes monster from the grave. While these two were definitely better than the previous couple pieces of support, the archetype continued to be essentially unplayable, as the only real goal of the deck was to sit on a vanilla Red Eyes and maybe a fusion monster. This all changed with the release of Crimson Kingdom, as this would bring a few pieces of support that would really start to form Red Eyes into a playable deck. The first of these was Red Eyes Wyvern, a level 4 wind dragon with the following effect. During your end phase, if you did not normal summon or set a monster this turn, you can banish this card from the graveyard. Special summon 1 Red Eyes monster from your graveyard. Wyvern, when mixed with Red Eyes Spirit, once again increased the graveyard potency of Red Eyes monsters, a factor that would only be further emphasized by the other monster in this set, Red Eyes Zombie Dragon, a level 7 dark zombie monster with the following effect. You can tribute summon this card in attack position by tributing 1 zombie monster. When this card destroys a zombie monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon that zombie monster. While technically a Red Eyes by name, even though it didn't really fit with the rest of the archetype, Zombie Dragon would be the first true boss of the strategy, as between Wyvern and Spirit, you could revive him easily after sending him to grave with a card like Gozuki. In addition, they also received one final support card a month later in the Super Joey rerun, Red Eyes Insight. Send 1 Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Add 1 Red Eyes spell or trap from your deck to hand, except Red Eyes Insight. You can only activate 1 Red Eyes Insight per turn. In one card, the deck was able to completely set up their plays by dumping either a Zombie Dragon or Wyvern off of Insight, then search for Spirit to revive Zombie Dragon the next turn, making its power swarming unmatched by other decks of the time. Red Eyes with this support became the dominant deck of the early Duel Links meta through the Zombie variant, only later challenged by other decks of the time like Ninja and Toons in terms of raw power. Over time, Red Eyes would slowly fade out of the meta with new releases, as to be expected from any deck, but their impact was clear. As the GX era started to pick up slowly after the dominance of Cyber Angels in the early days, Red Eyes would receive another wave of support in the January mini-box Resonance of Contrast. The first of this was the Ritual monster Paladin of Dark Dragon. You can ritual summon this card with Dark Dragon Ritual. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks a defense position monster, destroy that monster. You can tribute this card, special summon 1 Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck. You can only use this effect of Paladin of Dark Dragon once per turn. Its ritual spell, Dark Dragon Ritual, had the standard ritual summon effect, and, during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Add 1 Red Eyes spell or trap from your deck to hand. While decent in a vacuum, the fact that you need both the monster and the ritual spell to summon a Red Eyes monster that could easily be cheated out with better cards just as easily made these two fall flat immediately, as Insight essentially did the same thing that they did at this point. The same could not be said for Red Eyes Slash Dragon, a level 7 fusion of the original Red Eyes and any warrior with the following effect. When a Red Eyes monster declares an attack, you can target 1 warrior monster in your graveyard. Equip it to this card as an equip spell with this effect. The equipped monster gains 200 attack. When a card or effect is activated that targets a card you control, quick effect. You can send 1 equip card you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon as many monsters from your graveyard as possible that were equipped to this card. Slash Dragon would be the valuable piece of support in this wave, spawning a new variant of Red Eyes based around fusing for the boss, though would not break into the meta due to the prevalence of Cyber Angels, Gladiator Beasts, and Hazy Flames at the time, being also seen as inferior to the previous Red Eyes Zombie variant, as it had a recent wave of zombie support that boosted its relevance again. This would be the full extent of support for the archetype in the GX era, waiting for the 5Ds era structure deck to bring further support to the deck. About halfway through the 5Ds era, Red Eyes would see a resurgence through 2 waves of support, starting with the return of Red Eyes structure deck. Starting with the monsters, Red Eyes Retro Dragon was a level 4 dragon with the following effect. If a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster you control is destroyed by your opponent's attack or card effect and sent to the graveyard while this card is in your hand, you can special summon this card in defense position, and if you do, special summon as many of those destroyed monsters as possible in the same position they were destroyed in. You can tribute this card, you can normal summon 1 Red Eyes monster during your main phase in addition to your normal summoner set this turn. Being the first wave of cards based on cards at some point touched by Joey in the anime, Retro Dragon was based on Time Machine, a card used by Bandit Keith that Joey stole the effect of in their duel. The card itself would find the occasional tech spot in decks thanks to its revival effect, though not staple play, as it was usually not enough to stop a push from the opponent, usually just stalling for time. Red Eyes Archfiend of Lightning was a level 6 Fiend Gemini with the following summon effect. Once per turn, you can destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls with defense lower than this card's attack. Like Retro Dragon, Archfiend of Lightning was based on Summon Skull, which formed Black Skull Dragon with fused with the original Red Eyes, being used in the anime in Joey's tag duel with Yugi against the Paradox Brothers, and again against Yugi in the Duelist Kingdom semifinals. Its effect was drawn from the spell Makiyu the Magical Mist, which had the same effect when you controlled the Summon Skull. Similarly to Retro, Archfiend of Lightning would not be considered a staple in the deck, this time due to it not melding with the deck's game plan, being a level 6 Fiend and a Gemini in a deck that didn't want to waste its normal summon, but would see tech spots in some variants over time. Red Eyes Toon Dragon was a level 7 Dragon Toon with the following effect. Cannot attack the turn it's summoned. While you control Toon World and your opponent controls no Toon monsters, this card can attack your opponent directly. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 Toon monster from your hand, except Red Eyes Toon Dragon, ignoring its summoning condition. While it may share the archetype name, Toon Dragon should not be considered a piece of archetypal support for Red Eyes, rather a piece of support for Toons, being one of the most powerful swarming options the deck had. As for Red Eyes relevance, this card had absolutely none. The one spell included in this wave was Red Eyes Fusion. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster that lists a Red Eyes monster as material from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion materials. And if you do, its name becomes Red Eyes Black Dragon. You cannot normal summon or special summon other monsters the turn you activate this effect. You can only activate 1 Red Eyes Fusion per turn. Being a 1-card investment into making Slash Dragon that was searchable with Insight, Red Eyes Fusion was considered by most to be the undoubtedly best card in the deck, seeing play both as a way into Slash Dragon and a way to set up warrior monsters in the grave for other decks, like AD Changer. Even in modern builds of the deck, Fusion is still seen as a very valuable card, played at least 1 copy. The final piece of support from the structure was Return of the Red Eyes. If you control a Red Eyes monster, you can target 1 normal monster in your graveyard, special summon it. If this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can target 1 Red Eyes monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Return of the Red Eyes once per turn. This is another that's up for debate on its inclusion. On the one hand, it's recursion for the original Red Eyes and Gemini monsters, able to bring 1 back every turn. On the other hand, it can only be used on the vanilla monsters unless destroyed by the opponent, making it very limited in its uses. Some ran it as a tech choice at best, but most opted for Red Eye Spirit in its place if they wanted the Grave Revival, as at the time, the best removal for spells and traps was Cosmic Cyclone, which wouldn't have even triggered the destruction effect in the first place. While looking at the impact of this release, it's hardly fair to look at it on its own, as the main box released the next week included further support for the archetype. Within the box Blazing Rose, Red Eyes received a couple more monsters to round out the strategies included in the previous structure deck. The Black Stone of Legend was the first of these, a level 1 dragon with the following effect. You can tribute this card, special summon one level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster from your deck. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into your deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. You can only use one Black Stone of Legend effect per turn, and only once that turn. This card became an instant way to pull out practically any main deck member of the archetype with built-in recursion, though it wouldn't be used in most builds at the time. Instead, most players gravitated more towards Black Metal Dragon, a level 1 dragon with the following effect. You can target one Red Eyes monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or field to that target. It gains 600 attack. If this card is sent from field to graveyard, you can add one Red Eyes card from your deck to your hand. Black Metal Dragon at the time would synergize better with the current direction of the deck, as you wouldn't always want to summon your Red Eyes monsters from deck, as you primarily wanted them there to use Red Eyes Fusion. Black Metal Dragon filled the deck space better by synergizing with Slash Dragon's effect, as well as searching key archetype spells like Insight and Fusion when sent to grave, and boosting Slash Dragon's attack over 3000, which allowed it to attack over the strongest monsters in the meta, like Blue Eyes. The last, and easily least impactful of this wave, was Red Eyes Baby Dragon, a level 3 dragon with the following effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster from your deck, and if you do, equip this card from the graveyard to it. It gains 300 attack. If this card is sent to the grave while equipped to a monster, you can add one level 1 dragon monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Baby Dragon suffered almost entirely because of its reliance on being destroyed by battle, in addition to the same issue of the time that Blackstone shared of not really wanting to pull a Red Eyes monster out of the deck. It would eventually see play as the deck changed over time, but unlike the previous two, it would rarely, if ever, exceed a single copy in the deck. With these two waves of support, Red Eyes would come back into the meta quickly, though few realized just how powerfully at first. Though the deck was considered by most to be low-tiered at first, Red Eyes quickly shot up to the top of the meta thanks to its performance in the RRQ, being the most represented deck among the qualifying spots, being considered one of the best decks at the time alongside Subterror. Unfortunately, while Subterror would persist past this showing, Red Eyes would slowly fall out of favor as the meta grew, seeing more and more unfavorable matchups appear with new set releases, and eventually being fully power crept out of the format. Although the next box, Guardians of Rock, did bring another support card, it wouldn't do anything for the fading deck. Red Eyes Black Dragon Sword was a level 7 fusion monster with the following effect. Must be special summoned with the Claw of Hermos, using a dragon monster. If this card is special summoned, target one other face-up monster on the field. Equip this card to it. It gains 1000 attack and 500 attack and defense for each dragon monster on the field and in the graveyards. Dragon Sword wouldn't do anything for the deck in the long run, popping up as a tech choice in some builds using the Claw of Hermos, but aside from that, nothing. The last Red Eyes related card in the 5Ds era came in Curse of Dread with the Synchro monster Red Eyes Zombie Necro Dragon, a level 7 zombie synchro with the following effect. Gains 100 attack and defense for each zombie monster on the field and in the graveyards. When another zombie monster is destroyed by battle, you can special summon one zombie monster from either graveyard to the field. You can only use this effect of Zombie Necro Dragon once per turn. As you can probably tell, this was not meant to be Red Eye support. Rather, it was a synchro retrain of the Red Eye Zombie Dragon. Even with it being released alongside Plague Spreader Zombie and various other zombie support, it would see extremely little play, especially none that would be meta-defining. The DSoD era would be the first era of the game where Red Eyes wouldn't be relevant in the slightest, as only 2 cards would be released for the archetype here, only one of which could be considered beneficial. The first of these cards released was in Masters of Shadows, that being Gearfried the Red Eyes Iron Knight. Once per turn, if either player equips an equip card to this card, you can destroy those equip cards and then destroy one spell or trap the opponent controls. Once per turn, you can send one equip card you control that is equipped to this card to the graveyard, then target one level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in your graveyard, special summon it. While a decent piece of support for the deck, easily finding a home in the previous builds around Slash Dragon, Gearfried was nowhere near enough to push the deck back into relevance, as power creep had not been kind to the once meta-dominant strategy. The other piece of support in DSoD came from the Turbo Duel event, being Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing a Red Eyes Black Dragon from your deck. There can only be one Malefic monster on the field. Other monsters you control cannot declare an attack. If there is no face-up field spell on the field, destroy this card. Once again, a piece of Red Eyes support that was not at all Red Eyes support, instead being intended for the Malefic strategy, and even that deck wouldn't run it. Eventually, it would see occasional play in Malefic thanks to it and Parallel Gear being able to make Vermilion Dragon Mech, but that was the extent of its play. With DSoD coming and going without relevant support to bring the deck back, some looked to Zexal to bring new support, but the first piece wouldn't inspire confidence. Red Eye's Darkness Dragon was a Tag Duel tournament promo with the following effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by tributing one Red Eye's Black Dragon and cannot be summoned by other ways. This card gains 300 attack for each Dragon-type monster in the graveyard. This changed absolutely nothing about the deck, as it was the first piece of archetypal support released in the TCG, and its age was clearly showing. However, there were 2 more cards released in the Zexal era for Red Eyes that did somewhat change how the deck was played. Towards the end of the era, Selection Box Mini Volume 3 brought with it a couple new pieces of Red Eye support, starting with Flare Metal Dragon, a rank 7 Exceeds with the following effect. Cannot be destroyed by card effects while it has an Exceeds material. While this card has an Exceeds material, each time your opponent activates a card or effect, inflict 250 damage to the opponent immediately after it resolves. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach one Exceeds material from this card, then target one Red Eye's normal monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. On release, this was tied for the most powerful rank 7 made with level 7s, only being contested by Dracosac and Gaia Dragon for that honor. Seeing play not only in Red Eye's decks, but also any deck that consistently make rank 7s, such as Gaia, Dark Magician, and Desperado, though not the most powerful rank 7 overall, as Rhinoceros held that honor at the time. The other piece was Red Eye's Fang with Chain, a trap with the following effect. Target one Red Eye's monster you control, equip this card to it. It can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. You can send this equip card to the graveyard, then target one effect monster on the field. Equip that target to the monster this card was equipped to. And if you do, while a monster is equipped to it by its effect, its attack and defense becomes equal to the original attack and defense of the equipped monster. This trap would instantly find a home in Red Eye's decks, as now you could quickly load up Slash Dragon with equips, trigger Gear Freed on the opponent's turn, or bypass the slow nature of Baby Dragon's equip effect, in addition to stealing the opponent's monsters. Red Eyes as a deck with this support shifted from the previous Slash Dragon Turbo builds it had become known for into more of a Gear Freed control build, using Chain with a medley of other traps with the skill Endless Trap Hell to control the board states, until Endless Trap Hell was eventually nerfed. Though Red Eyes wasn't tiered for this, the deck did see an uptick in play rate. The currently final piece of Red Eye support for Duel Links was given to us in the second main box of the Arc 5 era Chaotic Soldiers, being Archfiend Black Skull Dragon, a fusion of a level 6 normal Archfiend monster and a Red Eye's normal monster with the following effect. You can only special summon Archfiend Black Skull Dragon once per turn. If this card battles, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step. If damage calculation is performed involving this fusion summoned card, at the end of the battle phase, you can target one Red Eye's normal monster in your graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its attack in the graveyard, then shuffle it into the deck. Archfiend Black Skull has seen some meme builds pop up here and there so far, but no major meta success, leading us into the current landscape. Though new support had not been released since that last wave, there are still plenty of Red Eye's cards to bring in from the TCG, though whether or not Duel Links can handle them is up for debate. Starting with the main deck monsters, Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon is a level 10 with the following effect. You can special summon this card from your hand by banishing one face-up dragon monster you control. You can only special summon Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon once per turn this way. During your main phase, you can special summon one dragon monster from your hand or graveyard, except Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon. You can only use this effect of Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon once per turn. Though this card has been errated once before, Darkness Metal is easily one of the most recognizable members of the archetype, causing many dragon decks to hit high-tiered status in multiple eras of the TCG, most infamously in Chaos Dragons, which got the card limited in the first place. It's up for debate whether or not it could be brought to Duel Links, though if it did, it would most likely be locked behind DSoD Joey's level up rewards, as this card in multiples could cause issues with the current dragon support in the game. Red Eye's alternative Black Dragon is a level 7 dragon with the following effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by tributing one Red Eye's monster from your hand or field. You can only special summon Red Eye's alternative Black Dragon once per turn this way. If this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target one level 7 or lower Red Eye's monster in your graveyard, except Red Eye's alternative Black Dragon. Special summon it, and if it was a Red Eye's Black Dragon that was special summoned by this effect, its attack becomes double. While this is one of the more recent support cards printed for Red Eyes in the TCG, its power level could be considered comparable to Duel Links at this point in time, as a monster with similar summoning condition, Blue Eye's alternative White Dragon, already exists in the game, and this one is arguably much lower power than alternative White. Even its floating effect could be considered in line with Duel Links, as the attack doubling could only be applied to Red Eye's Black Dragon, who could still be removed by other card effects. Red Eye's Black Flare Dragon is a level 7 Gemini dragon with the following Gemini effect. If damage calculation is performed involving this card, at the end of the battle phase, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to this card's original attack. You can only use this effect of Red Eye's Black Flare Dragon once per turn. A common theme you'll find with the majority of the remaining Red Eye support is the inclusion of heavy burn damage, which had these cards held out of the game for as long as they have been due to the lower life points of Duel Links. However, at the start of the Zexal Era, the decision was made to have the burn damage of any new cards brought into the game as a way to future-proof the mechanic. So from now on, I'll be reading the cards as if they were brought into Duel Links. Black Flare could currently be brought into the game without any real catches, as the effect damage would be halved when brought in, and the Gemini effects have historically not been relevant since the GX days. With this effect damage being lowered so substantially, this card shouldn't cause any issues. Meteor Black Comet Dragon, a fusion of a level 7 Red Eyes monster and a level 6 Dragon monster with the following effect. If this card is fusion summoned, you can send one Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to a quarter of the original attack of that monster. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can target one normal monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Burn damage, even with the nerfs present, should always be approached with caution in Duel Links, as once the tipping point is reached, burn will become a major prevalent deck in the meta, which standardly has been negatively received every time it occurred. With this in mind, Meteor could probably come to the game on the condition that a spell we'll be mentioning later does not come with them at all, though even then I doubt they will, simply due to the balancing act that is burn in the game. The final fusion is Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, a fusion of Dark Magician and either a Red Eye's Black Dragon or another dragon effect monster with the following effect. Neither player can target or destroy this card with card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's original attack. During your main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's original attack. This effect can be used a number of times per turn, up to the number of normal monsters used as fusion material for this card's summon. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect. You can discard one card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, and if you do that, this card gains 1000 attack. No, the answer is no. Dragoon is still an issue in the TCG as of the recording of this video, and the ability to make an indestructible, untargetable negation tool with built-in monster destruction and burn all off of Red Eye's fusion lets the card see a very high play rate, especially alongside the Link monster Predaplant Verte Anaconda being able to bypass the restrictions of Red Eye's fusion. Even without Verte, Dragoon could still be too problematic for Duel Links, as a monster with similar protections, Invoke Cositas, is currently banned because of how difficult that protection is to deal with in the current game. And Dragoon comes with even more protection with the ability to negate anything once per turn. Rounding out the monsters, Lord of the Red is a level 8 dragon ritual monster with the following effect. You can ritual summon this card with Red Eye's Transmigration. Once per turn, during either player's turn, when the card or effect is activated, except Lord of the Red, you can target one monster on the field, destroy it. Once per turn, during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated, except Lord of the Red, you can target one spell or trap on the field, destroy it. Red Eye's Transmigration is a ritual spell with the following effect. This card is used to ritual summon Lord of the Red. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field, and/or banish Red Eye's monsters from your graveyard whose total levels equals 8 or more. Lord of the Red's versatile removal could be considered acceptable in the current power level of Duel Links, as it relies on the opponent to make plays to be usable. Though with other cards with similar effects having dominated their respective formats, this could be up for debate. A card with similar power level could be Cyberslash Harpy Lady, who is currently one of the best synchros in the game. Though Lord of Red still requires both the monster and the ritual spell to be in hand, plus monsters in the hand or grave to summon it, balancing it out compared to the synchro with plenty of one-card combos that lead into it. Inferno Fire Blast is a normal spell that lets you target one Red Eye's Black Dragon in your monster zone. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. Red Eye's Black Dragon cannot attack the turn you activate this card. This card cannot be brought to Duel Links due to the presence of Red Eye's fusion already being in the game, which turns any monster it summons into Red Eye's Black Dragon by name, which already could be used with Slash Dragon to burn for 1400, but if the other fusions were brought to Duel Links with it, this card could cause OTKs left and right with 2 activations, which is a lot easier to perform in a format with a 20-card deck. Finally, Red Eye's Burn is a normal trap with the following effect. If a face-up Red Eye's monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, target one of those monsters. Both players take damage equal to half its original attack. You can only activate Red Eye's Burn once per turn. A similar case to Inferno Fire Blast, too much burn damage could turn problematic for fear of burn decks taking over. And even though this particular card has more drawbacks attached, such as needing the monster to be destroyed, being a trap, being a hard once per turn, and burning both players, it's debatable if it could be brought to the game for the same fear of burn damage. Realistically, it could be brought if some of the other burn-related cards aren't, but therein lies the issue that Red Eyes' heavy burn damage support is what holds a majority of these cards back. Overall, Red Eyes has a very different history depending on which game you're looking at. In Duel Links, various Red Eyes decks were considered good to top tier through the early eras of the game, though later eras definitely saw the deck lose their relevance. Even with it essentially gone from the meta today, Red Eyes still sees play in more casual settings as an easy to build, fairly low rarity deck for newer players to start with, outside of the selection box cards. Meanwhile in the TCG, Red Eyes as a deck type never took off due to being considerably weaker than other archetypes at the time. Those specific cards would be powerful in their own time, breaking formats wide open. Which of the two is more memorable is up for debate, but regardless of which is your personal favorite, Red Eyes in both the TCG and Duel Links has a legacy well deserving of retrospective lookbacks. Thank you all for watching to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this retrospective, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more like it. If you want more updates on the behind the scenes for these, or just into what's going on with me, be sure to follow me on Twitter or check out my Twitch streams. Both links are in the description below. Thank you all again, and I'll see you next time.